This video is brought to you by Fallen Dominion Studios. Check out their website at fallendominionstudios.com. Hey there folks, welcome back to the Dice Odyssey. I'm Kaz, and today we're going to be looking at a game by Bored to Death Productions called Neon Knights 2086. This is a racing game that has kind of a feel between like a game, like something like Tron, Ready Player One, and Mario Kart. And so, of course, I was interested in it. I'm not the biggest racing game fan in general, but when you add weapons to your vehicles and you have things like DeLoreans in the game, I'm sorry, I've always wanted to drive the DeLorean in terms of the actual time machine, because I want to go back in time and change some parts of my life, But anyway, when you had that kind of stuff into the game, it piques my interest. So it's for 2 to 6 players. It goes for 8 and up, and for about 45 to 120 minutes. Now that's going to depend greatly upon player count and variant. But anyway, let's get you over to the table. I'm going to give you a kind of a brief overview on how it plays and get back to my final thoughts. All right, so I'm going to just give you a general brief overview of how to play Neon Knights 2086. I'm by no means going to cover every single little rule in the game. And there's also different variants that you can play, which I'm not necessarily going to get into. You got an epic campaign mode, which allows you to shuffle different stage cards here and allows you to build the track in a different fashion. Number one, you got a lot of cool little player boards. All of them have, double-sided with different kinds of vehicles on them. Some of them are kind of nostalgic. Some of them are just awesome looking. They all have different weapons and modifications on the vehicles. My favorite by far, so far, is the DeLorean, okay? As you can see, that's pretty stinking awesome right there. And I insist almost pretty much every game playing is that. Love that car. Gotta go back in time, baby. And then you got that. A lot of awesome looking cars here. You got a Firebird, I think, on that side. And then just awesome cars in general. Another component that came with the game was a Neon Knights comic book. And I'm not going to go through all of it for the most part, just because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But it's got a full-fledged story and people that you can care about in there. But we're going to focus on the game. Really nice artwork, though, overall. Okay, this is your general layout of the player board. You got your pawn that you're going to put. This is going to be your speed indicator here. I'm just putting it there for right now. You've got your armor indicator here, which allows you to see how much damage you're taking and how much you can repair it. You got your reputation markers for each type of reputation, and then you've got your fans, which is the fist. You put your credits, which would be your money, basically. Beginning of the game, you're going to be drafting out these implant cards, and each player is going to get a certain amount as you go. But at the beginning, once you draft them, they're yours, right? And then you can go ahead and you can place these into the areas that have the brain, right? The implants. You're also got a sponsor card area right here, which we're going to get into, weapons, shields, and different kinds of upgrades that you can use in the game. You've also got down here the different kinds of actual modifications to your car when it comes to engines and brakes and things of that nature, which will determine about how much better your car will perform when it comes to speeding up or slowing down. Now, when it comes to the implant cards, you've got different kinds that you can get. This is by no means showing you every one of them, but they, impart to you different kinds of abilities. For example, this one gives you a +3 speed when accelerating. It costs you 5 lightning bolt, right? And as you can see, these are the car models, okay? Now, it is going to be the same sculpt each time, and it is a very nice sculpt. However, I do wish that these had been different, and granted, I get it, there's multiple cars for each player board, and so it would be difficult to keep up with that, but it would have been nice to have a sculpt of each type. Now, the object of the game is to be the person with the most victory points by the end, and that's on your victory point tracker here, okay? And the game's going to take place over a 7-day period. Now, the rules do state you can do 3 races, but you can accommodate yourself if you need to, take less time. You can do 1, 2, or 3 races, and they're going to take place. This is your marker that's going to be moving down. You're going to be able to take one action per day, okay? And once you get to day 5, which is payday, your sponsors pay out, and then you get one more day to take another action, do what you need to upgrade and such, and then you actually get to the actual race, okay? The several actions that you can take: you can get sponsored, you can visit the shop, you can buy an upgrade, you can draw a fan bet, which are basically like goals, you can repair armor, or you can install implants, and we'll go through those now. You can get sponsored, and on payday, this one, for example, would give you $15, and it would up your reputation on that lightning by 1. Okay, now you can take one from the top, you not know what's going to happen, or you can take one from any of those slots, and then the next one will come out as follows. Whenever you go to the shop, you can basically discard something from your car, you know, the starter cards that are modifications, and you can sell them for money, and the starter cards just go out of the game. And then you can go in here and purchase a new thing to put in its place if you want to. For example, this gives you a +2 for your acceleration if you need. It also gives you a 7 in power rating. Now, these are typically more for like tiebreakers and things of that nature. And then also, this right here is if you discard this, it'll help you with repairs. Now, each one's going to have different kinds of abilities on them if you discarded them or if they went into your hand. Now, say you were going to buy one, you'd actually pay the cost below it. And then say, for example, it was the $20 one here. You buy that, you put it into your slot, the colored slot it matches. And then what you do is move these down, right? And they'd all go cheaper. And then you'd go ahead and put a new card out. Very simple. You can also go and buy an upgrade. Now, these are going to upgrade your weapons, your shields, I mean, all sorts of different things. But for example, I think this one might be an EMP weapon. You can use this. You can target up to 5 other players, so basically everybody else that can play. You have a range of 4, okay? And then, so 4 spaces away. Within those 4 spaces, this is going to hit those people. And then you can force them to go faster or slower when it comes to the racing. Now, so in the same way as you're wanting to purchase one of these things, you purchase it for the price listed below, the other ones move down, and then the new ones come out. Let's say, for example, you buy this one. This goes into your shield slot, right? And it shields you up to 2 hits depending on what weapon's being fired at you. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You've got that as well. You can also purchase one of these special abilities with the little lightning on the side. You can have up to 2 of those. And for example, this one will allow you to repair up to 5 on your car. That's pretty cool. So another action you can take is drawing a fan bet. Now, you can have 2 of these in your hand, but you can't have more than that. These are basically goals for when you win races. For example, if you used a weapon and a shield in this one, it gives you $15 and 2 victory points, okay? Another action you can take is repair armor. So, right, for example, you got your armor on 7 right now, like you've been taking damage. Well, for every $5 you spend, which, for example, I'm going to spend $10, you can repair 1 point of armor damage. Another action you can take is installing your implant card, okay? You can go ahead and take this. For example, let's gain +1 range, primarily with weapons. What you do is pay the 3 reputation with gun, and you install that implant, okay? Now begins race day, and there's a few different ways that you're going to determine player order in the game ultimately for different things. But in this case, the person who starts off the fastest off the line, who's going the fastest, is going to be the first player. So everybody off the line is going to choose the rate at which they're going to start. I mean, go from 2 to 10. The way in which you determine how fast you want to go, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter at what part of the game you're in, are going to be these neon lights that are crisscrossing right here that are at the turns, okay? Like the orange and the red. Now, these are considered the safe speed colors that you can go at without receiving damage. And these are your different speeds, okay? The color of your speed. So whatever you place your marker in is going to be the color of speed you're going. So for example, if you were to go through this red one, this red line here, let's just pretend, 1, 2, 3, okay? Before you're able to fully go through it, you've got to determine what speed you're going at. So right now we're going through the red. If we were to go through that at a yellow speed, then we're going to have to roll however many colors between the differences there are for damage in terms of dice. So for example, we have to go at a red color to be safe, but if we were going at orange, we'd roll 1 dice. We're going at yellow, we'd roll 2 dice, and a green, we'd roll 3 dice because that's 1, 2, or 3 different colors. So for this example, we're going through at a yellow speed. So what you do is you now roll these 2 dice to determine what happens. We received 2 hits of damage. Not only do you take those 2 hits, 1, 2, on your car, okay, you're also going to have to reduce your speed by 2. 1, 2, okay, so it slows you down a little bit, right? Gives you hits of damage, and you also lose 1 fan, which really stinks. But the cool thing is, on the other die, we also received a fan. Now, to show you one other example, though, had we received another fan on there, because we were so close to the 5, any points you get past 5 fans, all right, say you receive 2 more points, well, then you'd gain those in actual point counter, okay? So now let's say another player decides to ram us. 1, 2. Oh no, it stopped on the same spot. Now you could normally go through, but if your player movement stops, you're ramming the other vehicle, and at that point, you'll roll for damage as well. I've got an EMP weapon here that allows me to target 5 different vehicles, up to 4 range, and I can make them go, plus or minus 3. These cars are within, 5 or 4 distance range. Now, when I have done that, I go ahead and flip this weapon card over as it has been used. The same goes for the same effect if somebody shot at you or did something to you and you had a shield card and you used your shield to deflect some of that damage. Doesn't matter what you're using, you flip it over, and that's how it shows that you've used it. Now, how do we go about replenishing such weapons and shields? Well, basically, you have to stop on these weapon or shields markers on the board, or special abilities and things of that nature. Now, when you stop on those, it's kind of like Mario Kart. You go ahead and turn your weapon card back over to the active side, and then it is ready to use again. Now, what happens if I stop on the repair marker? I can actually spend 5 of my credits toward repairing armor. 1 armor per 5 credits. You don't necessarily have to stop on a repair marker to repair your car. If you're going at speed 2 or 3, you can actually repair, let's say I'm on 7, you can repair 2 armor for free. Now, when it comes to actual movement after your initial turn, any subsequent turn, you're going to determine how fast you move. These are going to be the accelerator side. These are going to be the decelerator side. So, for example, let's say I was on 7 and I wanted to slow my car down a bit. I wanted to slow it down some. Well, I'd automatically have 1 action point to that aspect, but then I add in whatever else that I've got when it comes to mods. So, for example, if I want to slow down 1, I can do that for free. But then if I want to slow down more, I have to look at these to see how much I decelerate. Right here, it says I decelerate by 1 and another by 1. So you add all 3 together, I can decelerate up to 3. So if I was at 7, I get that 1 for free. And if I want to go the full 3, I can. And that's because of these. The same works for acceleration. Same exact thing. This is why you want to mod your car up in different ways. Now, if you've taken enough damage throughout the course of the race to bring your armor level below 1, okay, you're going to be bringing your speed down to 2, and from that point on, unless you're repairing, that's pretty much the speed you're going to be at. Now, to end the race, whoever crosses this finish line, so for example, in a 3-player game, if you were first, you end at that 3 slot, and then so on and so forth. The next person will be 2, the last person will be 1, okay? And what you're going to do to calculate points is you're going to be looking at your fan bets and see if you completed those goals. You're going to be looking at the slot you ended on. That's going to be counted for points, so that's 3 points. And then you're going to look at the amount of fans that you ended with that fist pump, and that's going to be how you calculate the ultimate amount of points. Now, let's say you go past 1 race, the person who ended last goes ahead and builds the next racetrack. Now, let me go ahead and get you back to my final thoughts. So, what did I think? Ultimately, I had a lot of fun with this game. I really did. I went into it not 100% sure how I was going to like it. The theme was calling out to me, the different kind of feel of the game, that futuristic Tronish Ready Player One style feel. And ultimately, it paid off in spades, and I thought it even brought a little bit of that theme out as well. Production quality was pretty good. I liked the cards. I did have a little bit of problem at first with that symbology. Some of it wasn't quite making sense to me right away, and a few other people at the table thought the same thing. But, within like 10 minutes, you started kind of rolling with it, you know what I mean? I do wish that the rule book was laid out better. It told me most of what I needed to know and helped me get set up and going, but I do wish there were some more. I mean, there were some facts in there, FAQs. There were some things in there telling you what was going on with it and what each card would do, but it didn't cover every little facet, and I wish it had. The board was nice. I did like how it was laid out. Had your black market, had your regular, I guess your regular market, and had your sponsors and everything else. It was a very big board, so I mean, you're going to need a decent sized table to put it out there. But I kind of wish that the board would pop a little bit more when it comes to the artwork. I love the artwork in general, right? When it came to the cards and the actual player boards and things like that, I thought those were great, you know. But I kind of wish the board had a little bit more of that going on. In general, it had like a dark cityscape. But when you started laying the track out, the neon colors started popping off the track a little bit more. And I think they did that on purpose because it did help to focus you on the track and what was going on there more. Now with this game, the one thing I really, really liked was the turns were fairly quick and snappy when it came to the days leading up to race day, right? You had one action per turn typically. You spend credits, you sell parts and bring more parts in to replace those other parts. You go to the black market, fit your car out with weapons and shields and other things like EMP weapons and stuff like that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. That stuff right there was enthralling me. It brought me more into the theme of like illegal street racing, right? It kind of had that feel to it. And then I like the idea of doing the implants of the drivers. You know, you're doing things that actually help you speed up better, slow down better, do all sorts of cool little things. So by the end of the game, your car and your driver basically are going to look different than everybody else's. So in a way, it had that asymmetric feel that I do like in games where I'm different than you, but you don't start out that way, right? The other thing I liked was the sponsor thing where you're able to go out and get sponsors, and hey, by the time you get to, I think it's day 5 it was, you're able to get those sponsors to pay you and help you with your reputation in different areas. And I thought that was a really cool, ingenious little element to the game that really increased my enjoyment of it. And the fact that you weren't always sure what sponsors were going to come out, so everybody at the table's fighting to get those sponsors, you know what I mean? And so that created a tension that I thought was necessary to keep the game fun and exciting. Now when it came to the racing aspect of it, I like that it was pretty quick. You could have a race end and, well, it depends on player count. You could have a race end in maybe 15, 20 minutes tops. You know what I mean? And I like that because typically, like, you play a race game, man, it takes forever. There can be a runaway leader 9 times out of 10. This game didn't necessarily suffer from that because you had the weapons, you had the shields. And like Mario Kart was the fact that when you stopped on those little spots to replenish shields or weapons or special abilities, it did that, And so like you fired off and I can't use this until I get to that gun point again or that shield point, and defend myself. And I thought that was so much fun, especially when we were ramming each other trying to get to those places and spots. That created an excitement for me that I don't get normally from a lot of other racing games. So ultimately, the game was super fun in many respects. Now, I do have a couple of negatives that I wasn't so keen on for the game in general, but again, didn't necessarily kill the game for me, but it's something you definitely need to know. Different player counts aren't necessarily that great, right? What I mean is the scalability. I thought that at 2 players, it wasn't that great. There wasn't really enough going on. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can have fun with it, right? But I think that this type of game the more players you get, the better in general, right? But I'd rather have it 3 or higher. 3 or higher, because that way there's more people playing the game, there's more tension for the sponsors and the upgrades and things like that you're trying to buy, and there's more tension on the track, and there's more targets to shoot, you know what I mean? So I really like that. But when it comes to going up to the really high player count, I don't think necessarily everybody's going to like that, because for the game itself, that it might be a little too long. You know what I mean? At that point, like if you go to 6 players, it just depends on your group. 6 players might be a little too long. But again, at the same time, depending on the group, they may enjoy the carnage and the craziness, right? Overall, what do I give this game ultimately? I personally give this about a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. The people who played it with me enjoyed it. And if you're somebody who has an aversion to racing games, this might actually help you come back into them and enjoy them a little bit more. Again, I'm not a massive fan of racing games, and I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. So anyway, that's going to be all for me. By the way, how about you? Do you like racing games? Are you somebody that gets gets into these type of games, these street racing games with mods and things like that. Have you played this game yet? Neon Knights 2086. It's definitely a quality game. I think you should check it out if you get a chance. Anyway, thank you again. You have a blessed day, and game away.